Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the Western Riverside Council of Governments of our Monday, November 1st meeting, calling to order. And thank you for all that are here. We're going to begin, as we do every meeting, with our Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to ask Casey Daly to lead us in the pledge.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Put your hand over your heart and please join me in saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Janice, can you please conduct roll call?
Absolutely. When I call your jurisdiction, if you would please state your name. I'm sorry, I have one of our committee members calling me. Can you hold?
Sure, we'll hold for you.
Okay, that was Lori Stone. She has now joined us. When I call your jurisdiction,
Great.
if you would please state your name, City of Banning,
David Happy, thank you.
Beaumont,
Mike Laura,
Calamasa,
Wendy Hewitt,
Canyon Lake, Casey Castillo. No response. Corona,
Jackie Casillas.
Eastvale,
Christian Dinko,
Hemet,
Russ Brown,
Harupa Valley,
Chris Barajas,
Lake Elsinore,
Ryan Tisdale,
Menifee,
Matt Leesmeyer,
Moreno Valley, Murrieta,
Lori Stone.
Norco,
Kevin Bash,
Harris,
Rita Rogers,
Riverside, City of Riverside, San Jacinto,
Crystal Ruiz,
Temecula,
Marianne Edwards.
Wildemar,
Ben Benoit here.
County District 1,
Evan Jeffries here.
District 2,
Aaron Spiegel here.
District 3,
Chuck Washington,
District 5,
Jeff Hewitt here.
Eastern Municipal Water District,
Bill Polly.
Western Municipal Water District.
Brenda Denstead, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Riverside County Superintendent of Schools. WRCOG TAC Chair. That concludes roll call and we have quorum.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, members of the public can address this committee on any item listed on the agenda or not. And you members will have the opportunity to speak on agendized item at this time, and no action can be taken on the list of items not listed on the agenda. Do we have anybody wanting to address this committee?
I have no requests and I see no hands raised.
Okay. We will move on to the consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and may be enacted in one motion. Prior to the motion to be considered by any action by the committee, any public comments of the any item on the consent will be heard. So Janice, do we have any members of the public have any questions or comments?
I have no requests and I see no hands raised.
Okay. Does anybody else?
second San Jacinto,
Okay, can we have roll call vote?
City of Banning,
City of Banning present.
is that a aye, sir?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Beaumont,
Yes.
Calamasa,
yes,
Canyon Lake, Corona,
Yes.
Eastvale,
Aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Harupa Valley,
yes,
Lake Elsinore,
Yes.
Menifee,
Aye.
Moreno Valley, Murrieta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Paris,
yes,
Riverside, San Jacinto,
yes,
Temecula,
Aye.
Wildemar,
Aye.
County District 1,
Aye.
District 2,
Aye.
District 3,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Eastern Municipal Water District,
Yes.
and Western Municipal Water District.
Yes.
That concludes roll call vote for that item, and it passes unanimously.
Okay, we now will have an update on item 6A, and this is from the California State Association of Counties, CSAC. We're going to start having that on a regular basis, and we have Andrea who's going to be doing this. Did you want
Madam
to start,
Chair,
Jack?
yes.
Yes.
I will start, and I will sort of lay the foundation for what it is that I'm hoping to provide to the executive board of WRCOG. In my many years serving and representing now my third agency at WRCOG, I've become witness to the regular monthly updates from the League of Cities. And it only recently occurred to me that there's probably some important information that could be shared from the county's version of League of Cities, and that is the California State Association of Counties. I began serving WRCOG in the 90s and was Murrieta's representative to WRCOG from 95 to 99. When I was elected to the Temecula City Council in 2003, I became the Temecula representative to WRCOG and continued receiving those updates on a monthly basis from the League of Cities, and found it informative and enjoyed it. And only recently, and this is about a year ago, when I was elected to an officer position as the second vice president, which I'll hold that position for another month and then become first vice president. And then in the year of 2023, I will be the president of the State Association of Counties. It has really occurred to me, and this also has occurred to me throughout the pandemic, when counties were the center of focus during testing regimes, during vaccination regimes, and a numerous number of health issues and health orders that really become sort of the mainstay of counties to provide information and guidance, especially since counties are the ones that have public health officers, not typically cities, although there are a few exceptions to that rule. And as a county supervisor now for going on soon to be 7 years, I've become much more keenly aware of the responsibilities of counties to do a number of different, provide a number of different services, engage in a number of different activities that cities do not, whether citizens live within a city or not. They're still served by a countywide elected sheriff, a countywide elected district attorney, a countywide elected treasure tax collector. There are actually 5 other elected offices besides the Board of Supervisors, and I've just named 3. There's also the assessor and the auditor controller, and a number of other services that counties provide. So I thought I would bring this to the WRCOG agenda. When I became an officer, as I said, a year ago, the outgoing urban county caucus supervisor was Lisa Bartlett of Orange County. She had an assistant from her staff who assisted her in her role as a CSAC officer. So I asked Andrea Mars if she would want to fulfill that role for me on my team, and she said yes. So she serves not only as a staff member on my team, but also as my sort of right-hand woman in my role as a CSAC officer. And because CSAC doesn't have the level of staffing that League of Cities has, they could not provide me with that individual who could provide an update on what's going on with CSAC. So I hope that you welcome her for this very first CSAC brief and update. And if you find it useful to you to learn more about the role that the 58 counties in the state of California do. I hope that I can hear that from you, or you share that with the chair. But, I'm proud to say that we 58 counties represent 100% of California residents. And that's a statement that, well, quite frankly, cities can't make, right? So with that, I'd like to introduce you to Andrea Maras.
Thank you, Supervisor Washington, and good afternoon to the WRCOG Executive Committee members. As Supervisor stated, my name is Andrea, and among other responsibilities, I assist Supervisor Washington with his CSAC duties. Supervisor Washington is the Urban Caucus Chair. The urban counties population makes up over 80% of the state's total population. And that's obviously Riverside County is included in that. Supervisor recently returned from an executive committee meeting where members and CSAC staff looked back on the successes and possible pitfalls of the last legislative season. I know that the legislative information is something that the league also provides to the executive committee members, and we're hoping to do the same from a county perspective. One of the greatest accomplishments surrounded broadband accessibility, and this is an issue that impacts all of Riverside County's cities and unincorporated areas. During the pandemic, CSAC convened a first of its kind broadband coalition, of which Supervisor Washington served on. And it was this relentless advocacy that resulted in the signing of SB 156, which provides a $6 billion investment into broadband infrastructure. So that's something that we're really excited to move forward and utilize in the future. We hope that any future reports of CSAC's activities will prove beneficial, educational, and like I said, mirror those of the league, but through a different lens. And if there's ever a topic of interest that you're curious about or need additional information on, I'm happy to serve as a resource to you all. I know that, for example, broadband was one of the big ones that came very quickly to a spotlight position during the pandemic. But if there's ever anything else, the CSAC policy platform is very all-encompassing of numerous different areas. So I'm happy to, in the future, serve as a resource for anything that comes your way. And we look forward to future reports on CSAC's activities.
And Madam Chair, I will be happy to try to answer any questions, or perhaps if Andrea would answer any questions, we'd be happy to answer it if anyone has any questions.
Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, I've got, Chuck, could you tell us, I believe we have a CSAC conference coming up. Could you tell us about that?
So every year, CSAC hosts an annual conference. This year, it will take place beginning at the end of this month and go into the first few days of December. This year, it will be hosted in Monterey. This morning, on our weekly Monday morning officer call, we discussed some of the details of that annual meeting, and we're ensuring that the meeting takes place in a safe environment and is conducted safely. There'll be a number of different activities at the annual conference, not the least of which will be when the officers are promoted. And so we will make our first vice president will become president of CSAC. He's a rural county supervisor from Siskiyou County. I will move up to first vice president, and the suburban caucus will elect a new second vice president to represent their caucus. Additionally, there will be breakout sessions to deal with a number of things that are of more interest to county supervisors, dealing with county governance, county finance, county health departments, public safety, criminal justice systems, you name it. So there'll be a number of different activities going on that might be of interest to county supervisors. And again, like I said, it will be in Monterey, and it takes place over, I believe it's a three full days of a conference.
Any additional questions? Thank you very much, Andrea. We look forward for your more reports and information sharing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, we're now on 6B, update on WRCOG, JPA and bylaws.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm pleased to bring to you the final step in the bylaws update and the next step in the JPA update. As you're aware, the JPA and the bylaws are essentially our governing documents. They were originally created along with the inception of WRCOG. So periodically, we do make some changes to them. The last major update was made in 2018. And as part of this update, we had a subcommittee comprised of Vice Chair Crystal Ruiz, immediate past Chair Kevin Bash, Executive Committee members Brian Tisdale and Ben Benoit, who met on several occasions to consider the totality of both documents, make recommendations and debate what things needed to be changed or what things needed to remain the same. With the JPA, in your staff report, you've got the full set of changes, but essentially these were pretty simple changes. Removal of the Morongo Band of Mission Indians references, for example. There were a number of other things that were brought to our attention by Mr. Devon because there were some sort of legal updates or changes to the process that made some sense. And for the bylaws, they were primarily matching up the bylaws to meet our existing practices of just sort of how we do things today. There were some additional clarifications that were made. One of the clarifications, for example, was that the executive committee has ultimate oversight over both the executive director and general counsel. And the full set of changes are again in your agenda packet. Happy to answer any questions you may have. If you were to move forward with this item today, the bylaws would then be adopted with your action today, and they would become effective immediately after adoption. And for the JPA, the action requested is to direct staff to circulate the changes to the JPA among the member agencies, and those changes would take effect once we have the appropriate number of member agencies who have signed off on that. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions or to defer any questions to either Mr. Devon or to members of the committee.
I see one hand up, Ms. Casillas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm in agreement with these updates. I just wanted to thank the subcommittee for working on these. It's never fun to be on them. It's really hard work and often thankless. But I just wanted to thank the members who participated, read through it, and did all the work to get us here. And I will make a motion to accept these updates.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. I'm going to have another speaker. Maybe he's going to second, I'm not sure. Mr. Happy.
Yes, thank you, Chairwoman. I was just curious about the rationale and justification for removal of Morongo.
Sure, that was actually really a ministerial change. Morongo has withdrawn and has not been part of WRCOG for some time. We just have not had the opportunity to go back and make the corrections to the document to reflect that.
Thank you.
Mr. Benoit.
Sure, I just want to say thank you to Jackie for the compliment, but really this is a staff did a very good job of helping us out. And as a member of the committee, I just want to recognize all the hard work that staff put into doing this for us and helping us get through and getting this changed and updated. And with that, I'll go ahead and second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Banning,
Yes.
Beaumont,
Yes.
Calamasa,
Yes.
Canyon Lake, Corona,
Yes.
Eastvale,
Yes.
Hemet,
Yes.
Rupa Valley,
Yes.
Lake Elsinore,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
thank you.
Yep.
Moreno Valley, Murrieta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Paris,
Yes.
Riverside, San Jacinto,
Yes.
Temecula,
Aye.
Wildemar,
Aye.
County District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Eastern Municipal Water District,
Yes.
Western Municipal Water District.
Yes.
That item passes unanimously. Thank you.
Well, thank you for everyone who had their hands on this, from the attorney to make sure we're doing it legally, to our wonderful new, you're no longer new now.
Yeah, guess not.
It's not.
anymore.
Exactly.
Uh-oh.
Executive Director Kurt, and to, again, to tag on to what Jackie was saying earlier, to the committee members. So, thank you for your time and your efforts to get this through. It's definitely been overdue. But thank you. Okay, we are now on Inland Regional Energy Network Activities Update. Mr. Casey.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Good afternoon. Casey Daly, Director of Energy and Environmental Programs here at WRCOG. I'm excited to be here today to give you an update on the Inland Regional Energy Network, or IREN. Next slide, please. So these are some of the things we're going to be discussing in this overview today. We gave a fairly detailed presentation at Admin and Finance, so I'm going to move with some quickness through this. But IREN, as the graphic on the slide suggests, is really a collaborative effort between WRCOG, the Coachella Valley Association of Governments, and the San Bernardino Council of Governments, with the activities specifically focused and designed for Riverside and San Bernardino County communities. Next slide, please. So by way of some background, development of IREN goes back to late 2018, when the executive committee authorized a joint cooperative agreement between the three COGs to move forward with developing the business plan or application for the REN. This past February, the business plan, again, or application, was submitted to the Public Utilities Commission for consideration to authorize the IREN to become what's known as a program administrator in the state of California. And then finally, on October 13th, the Administration and Finance Committee approved an updated joint cooperative agreement between the three COGs for us to continue moving forward. Next slide, please. So what is a REN? RENs are created by the Public Utilities Commission. They are coalitions of local governments that are designed to administer energy efficient programs independent of the IOUs. IOUs in this case, Southern California Edison, Southern California Gas Company. RENs are specifically enabled to do really three things: to perform programs and services that the IOUs cannot or are unable to do, to provide programs and services to reach disadvantaged and hard to reach communities, and then finally to design programs that have the ability to be replicated and scalable throughout the state of California. Currently, there are three RENs that exist in California. Bay REN and SoCal REN were the first two that were created back in 2012 when RENs were still in the pilot phase. And then in 2018, the CPUC approved 3C REN, which is a collaborative effort between the counties of Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, and Ventura. So the IREN would be the fourth REN to be authorized in the state of California and would exist solely to serve the two counties and communities within inland Southern California. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about what RENs do and do not do. So first of all, RENs will not be involved in residential commercial financing programs like PACE. The REN will also not be involved in buying electricity in the open market like the Community Choice Aggregation Program. What the REN will do, among many things, would be to provide technical assistance to agencies to help support facility improvements, to reduce energy consumption, to provide trainings and workshops to both local building departments and the development community on updates and changes to Title 24, and would also be involved in workforce education and training to support expansion of career training programs to try to increase the clean energy workforce in the two counties. Next slide, please. So where does the money come from? Well, the money comes from this thing called the Public Goods Charge, which is administered by the CPUC. The Public Goods Charge is funded by ratepayers. all of us essentially. On our electric and gas bill, there is a line item either identified or bundled up that is the public goods charge. And that money is to support the state and the state's goals in energy reduction. There is approximately $600 million available annually from the public goods charge, and all of the IREN funding will come from this source. I want to take a moment here to note that RENs functionally operate very much like a grant, like a long-term grant. And in this case, we have applied for years 2022 through 2027. So any funding that comes through the CPUC for the REN would be for an extended period of time. And at the end of that period in 2026, if there is the desire to continue operating the REN, we will be able to apply again and continue operating. But there is no obligation to continue operating if there is no desire. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we've been at this now for a couple of years. I'm not going to go through this, but you can see we've throughout the two counties have obtained a number of letters of support from the various cities. The county, even SCAG, has come on board to support us. So we're happy to have the support of so many partners throughout inland Southern California. Next slide, please. So the new news coming from admin and finance to exec is that on October 18th, the CPUC issued what's called its proposed decision, which approved the IREN application for years 2022 through 2027 in the amount of $65.5 and change million. So over the next 6 years, beginning next year, the IREN team will have these resources available to design and implement these programs to benefit the communities of our region. On the 18th of November, the commission, the CPUC, will issue its final decision, which will formally approve our application and the budget request. As we look to the future, in probably sometime in the February-March timeframe, we'll be coming back to the Admin and Finance and Executive Committee with a number of agreements. We will have a master cooperative agreement between the three COGs to identify whose roles and responsibilities and cost sharing. We will also come back with a program agreement, which is a required document between the gas company Edison and IREN. We will also be coming back with the governance and operations charter, which will clearly spell out how we intend to organize ourselves and how decisions will be made implementing the budget that we've received. And just as a reminder, we do not have any requested action here today. This is simply a receive and file. But as we go forward with these items I mentioned above on the previous slide, we will come back to the executive committee for approval of those documents. And with that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Do any members of the committee have any questions or comments? Okay, first I should have asked if the public, does anybody from the public?
I have no requests and I see no hands from the public.
Okay, I'm gonna go Mr. Brown first.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Appreciate that overview, Casey. And I'm looking at your slide that shows the support for IREN. And I noticed that the city of Hemet is conspicuous by its absence. Was that a conscious decision that our city made prior to my involvement, or is that just an oversight on the slide?
No, sir. There is no reason for the city not to be listed, and we were unable to get a letter of support from the city. This is really just an example. You're more than welcome. We'd love to have the city of Hemet support. And there was nothing other than, I think, perhaps heavily burdened staff prioritizing other things more important to city operations than a letter of support from us. That's all.
Okay, well, if you wouldn't mind contacting me offline, and I'll look into what happened on our end.
Yes, sir. And just to be clear, this this, the slide for the support, none of it's binding. There's no, if you're not on the list, it doesn't mean that you can't participate. Participation is open to almost everybody. And I can explain that if there is a question why, but it's not that this is a, if you're not on the list, you're not part of the game.
Yeah, I just
So,
wanted,
I guess
I just wanted to make sure
going along with
it
this, Brown.
wasn't a conscious decision made by some staff member on our city. So I'll talk to you
I
offline.
don't believe. Okay, yes, sir.
So those entities, agencies that were not on that list, do you want them to still send in a letter? Or does it matter?
At this point, it doesn't really matter. We've gotten down the road with the commission. They've issued their proposed decision. We were able to show a significant level of support. We'll welcome it, but it's not needed.
Okay.
Matt?
Thank you.
Matt?
Oh, sorry, didn't recall my name. Hey, Casey, thanks for the presentation. Two questions. Number one, what was the original intention for the public goods fund? And kind of like how long has it been around, sort of thing. I'm just kind of wondering if that money is supposed to be being spent on something else and just kind of be redirected at this point. And then kind of part two is, will adding another REN to this circulation, if you will, cause any increases to ratepayers?
Thank you for both of those questions, sir. So the public goods charge, I do not know how long it's been around. I can be honest with that. But what I do know the money is there for is to support the state's energy reduction goals. The various goals around achieving net zero energy by 2030, 2040. All of the programs, so any program that is offered by Southern California Edison, Southern California Gas Company, PG&E, all of those entities are also identified as program administrators who have access to the public good charge funds. So it's not a diversion of funds from something else. If anything, it's R3 cogs coming together to identify a small slice of that $600 million pie so that we can bring those resources down here to inland Southern California and develop and implement programs that benefit our communities.
Mr. Daly, it's 14 years.
14 years.
Yes. So the average ratepayer in California pays $1 per month and has for the past 15 years.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. And then the second part of your question was, will this result in any additional charges? The answer to that is no. It would not. By funding the REN is not going to result in any ratepayer in either Southern California, inland Southern California, or the entire state to pay more on their electricity bills. That would only be limited to rate increases by the IOUs or your other electricity providers.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you for the questions.
Any additional questions? Mr. Dinko?
Real quick, who handled these responsibilities prior to the IREN? Was it just not being taken advantage of, or was it these funds administered in a different way? Just curious.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So currently there is one REN that operates in Southern California. That's the SoCal REN. That REN is administered by Los Angeles County, and so the IREN has been around since 2012, or excuse me, SoCal REN has been around since 2012, and not any way disparaging them, but it's a big territory that they cover, and so their services haven't really gotten out to inland Southern California as much as we would like, certainly in Coachella Valley. Prior to this, the closest thing that WRCOG had as a program would be what's called our Western Riverside Energy Partnership, or REP, which is considered to be a local government partnership. That was really more of a program where the gas company and Edison had programs that they wanted to help drive implementation, and then WRCOG would help support that For those that have been around, you might recall when we would do our holiday light exchanges. Those kinds of low-hanging fruit type activities were funded by the partnership. So there really hasn't been this type of energy programs and energy services offered directly within Riverside and San Bernardino County up until now. So I hope that answers your question, sir.
It does. So by having the IREN, we're able to tap into that money, that pool of money that already exists. Is that understanding it right?
Yes, sir. So this is, in many ways, this is us attempting to bring resources into our communities, into the two counties, so that we have resources to help support our cities in the county.
Okay, anybody else have a question? You seeing none, this is a receive and file. We will move on to item 7 from our TAC. I don't think you made it on, Jeff.
No, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
we will move on.
I was just saying no.
Oh, sorry. Moving on to item 8, CalCog. Brian Teasdale, do you have anything to report?
Madam Chair, we didn't have a meeting this month, nothing to report.
Okay, Chris Reese, Sanday, Borders Committee.
Boy, it's hard to work this thing on the phone. Hang on. All right, so there it is. We did hear from the Consulate General of Mexico again, as well as had updates from the State and Regional Recreation Commission, wildfires, and overall overview of the State Route 94 multiple use feasibility study. So it was just information. And that.
Madam Chair, I know that was a bad connection. Just so everyone's aware, the agenda for the Sandag Borders Committee was included as an attachment to the staff report in the agenda packet.
Thank you. Ted Hoffman, the South OL, are you on the call?
Yes, Madam Chairman. Just so everybody knows, on the Integrated Inland Region Water Management Program, the grants, the Department of Water Resources from the state has not released findings of yet for the Proposition 1 Round 2 monies guidelines. So we're looking forward to getting those in mid-November. So stand by for that. And also, as far as SAPWA, the Santa Ana Watershed Project Authority is evaluating the development of a 4-year pilot scale program for the weather modifications, in other words, cloud seeding program in the Santa Ana River watershed. Work will be commencing soon to work with CEQA for the pilot program, and they're hoping to get it started in late 2022 or early 2023. They had a workshop on it last month, and it was pretty interesting. So look forward to seeing those in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben Benoit, AQMD.
Sure. We haven't had our meeting yet since last month, but we do have a relatively large agenda coming up. This next meeting this week on Friday, we are looking at 1109.1, which is a rule for refineries. This will affect all the refineries in the area, which there's 5, and this is going to affect them in a large way. We're looking at about 8 tons of emissions per day that will be reduced by this rule. I'm happy to say that the refineries and the EJ communities and the AQMD body seem to have come to a consensus on this rule at this point. We're hoping they'll get it passed on Friday with no major issues. So we'll see how the meeting goes, but I'll report back next month.
When is the CARB opening?
The CARB opening, I believe, is on the for the California Air Resources Board in Riverside, having their grand opening on the 17th. I'm sorry, the 18th. So it's 10:30 on the 18th of November.
Okay, I've been asked, how do you get an invite? Or can anybody just show up?
That's a good question. I'm not on CARB, I'm on AQMD, but I'm
I
sure.
know, but you're connected.
I don't have too many connections there at CARB, but I know we did get some invites over to AQMD, but and I know Patricia Lock Dawson had some from the city of Riverside was also gonna be going, but I can reach out and I can ask for you, Supervisor.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Benoit. Do we have anybody from either regional council or any of the SCAG committees that wants to report on SCAG? Anybody? I know the meeting is this Friday, so Thursday. It's Thursday. Good date. So I guess there's really not much to report. All right. Report from Executive Chair. Our main focus for me is we have a date set. We're looking at December 3rd. We're going to send out an email shortly for our strategic planning workshop. And the more that can make it, the better it is. We've talked about this whole past year about redirecting, refocusing, getting some definitive goals and plans and some strategic outcomes. And right now is the perfect time with a new executive director. So we're looking forward to all of you to be involved. If you haven't taken the survey, whether you're attending or not, we really need you to take that survey. And so mark your calendars, December 3rd. Pass it on now to our executive director.
All right, so for some of you, that'll make 2 meetings in December, but the good news is you won't have to have the executive committee meeting in January. So that part will be canceled, so you'll be ahead of schedule. And with that, since we won't see you, we would like to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, since we won't see you, most of you, between now and then.
Mr. Dinko, you have your hand up.
I'm sorry, Supervisor, I know you said the time for December 3rd. Could I get
I
that
didn't say
again?
the time.
Oh,
Nine.
I just
9
assumed.
o'clock.
8?
9 to 3:30.
Got it, thank you.
I lost it on my phone. So if you have an RSVP, yes, we want to include you, so please let us know. It's a month away. And it's really, it's actually a turning point for WRCOG. So we certainly want as much input as possible to really get some solid direction for this organization. Okay, are there any items for future agendas? Ms. Hewitt.
Yes, I would like to get some updates about our Nexus study. As it goes along, I would like to see some updates come in. I don't know if we can put that on future agendas for updates or what can be done, but I'd like to actually see the progress they're making.
Sure. There are no any reportable milestones just yet, but as we reach those milestones, we're happy to bring those back to the committee and share the progress.
That'd be good. Thank you.
Okay, see no other hands up. Any general announcements? Nothing exciting going on? Okay.
This is it. This is all the excitement right here, Madam Chair. And after this meeting, yeah, after this meeting, we'll report that we had a really exciting meeting at WRCOG.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you very
Yes.
much, Supervisor.
Yes.
Real quick,
Mr. Benoit.
Supervisor, I'll make a quick announcement.
Thank you.
We do have our State of the City coming up for the city of Wildomar. It's at Armando Bryant Park this Thursday at 5 o'clock. So if anyone wants to come by for that, we'll be out there at 6 o'clock. Thanks.
And the city of Hemet has their State of the City this Friday at 6 o'clock. Not that I work for the city of Hemet, but I know Russ would want me to mention that.
Yeah, you beat me to the key. But thanks for the plug.
Anything else? Okay, with that, we're going to move into closed session. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on any of the closed session items?
I have
Mr.
no
Devon, do we
requests
have
and I
any-
see no hands raised.
Thank you. Mr. Bond, do we have any announcements to make?
We will probably not have any announcements, reportable action following the closed session. Our closed session will be on the 6 cases that are listed on the written agenda.
Okay, so we will just adjourn from closed session. And this time, Janice will be moving us into the waiting room. Moving everybody else in the waiting room, or you can just hang up.